yeah. At the start, it
'Cause
even
I
felt
remember
like I was a virgin again.
I
Yeah.
was a virgin, right? So it's
Yeah.
my first time. So
We didn't know what we were doing, actually.
Yeah.
To be honest, like even if I had experienced all these things, it was like a totally new thing.
Well, given your background, Joy, you wrote a story of
The book.
you wrote a book about what happened to you when you were
When a
good God allows rape, and now that you're in marriage, and of course you have encountered sex in two different ways. One is violent sex, and then this one is within marriage. Was your past uh, was that like an obstacle to you enjoying sex now in marriage with Edric?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I would say this is where we see the healing of God, and how he restores things. Because the way I felt with Edric, even in my relationship with him, I already felt safe to begin with. And so when we eventually had sexual intercourse in marriage, I felt like it was the way it was supposed to be. This is how I really should have experienced it all along, not the defiling way that I experienced. And it was such a contrast that it wasn't like an apples to apples thing. And I think that that's the amazing thing about how God restores things, right? That he allowed me to see a different way of how he designed sex. And because I saw that it was radically different, we didn't have issues with it by God's grace. I mean, we have 6 kids.
I think at the start you thought it was painful. Remember that? I remember that.
Yeah. At the start, it even felt like I was a virgin again. Yeah.
I was a virgin, right? So it's my first time. So
we didn't know what we were doing, actually. To be honest, like even if I had experienced all these things, it was like a totally new thing once again. Like, how the Bible says that God makes all things new, and it just felt like that also. And so there are times, of course, like maybe certain things I have memories, and because it's something that was similar or whatever, although it's a different context. And I just have to remember that this is not the same thing, right? And sex is not about me all the time. It's something I'm giving to my husband. Sex is a very, just let me explain this part, okay? Right? The Bible says your body's not your own. And
I'll say what, because I feel that way. I have to give my body to you.
You always want to give your body to me. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, I think I learned also to see sex for the way that God designed it. It's really supposed to be a selfless thing also, where it's something that I can also do to serve Edric, to be a blessing to him, to love him, to show my love for him. So it's not just what I can get out of it or what it, this was my experience. So sorry, babe, we can't do it, because it reminds me of that. And so I think that's also how God helped me to reframe things.
Right.
Right. That this is what sex is supposed to be in marriage. And how can I also be a blessing to my husband? Because now that I was forced into surgical menopause, it's gotten harder, right? So I always have to think also, how can I be a blessing to my husband? It's not just about me or what's convenient for me.
I guess I've also learned how to also make it enjoyable for you. I think that's also part of it. I mean, be very honest here.
No, but
right. It's not a one
You
way.
should hear that, because guys need to hear that. Please share that.
I'm so blessed by that answer. I'm so blessed, because it just shows how God heals and really makes all things new again. Because as I was listening to that video last night in TED, the sexless, that couple that didn't have sex for 7 years, never consummated, was because the wife was sexually abused, and had a very traumatic experience when she was younger.
And so she carried
that into their relationship. But this shows that God is so faithful in restoring things. So
I think Edric was saying, right, he's also very sensitive, and what were you gonna say?
Yeah, what were you gonna say? You were gonna say something.
Anyway, they can edit this after. It's so funny.
They can edit this,
No, but I think that you were
I was very
saying,
sensitive to joy. I tried to find, we talked about it, and we tell couples, if you want to enjoy sex, you have to talk about it. Does that work for you? How does that feel?
is this
And I was
uncomfortable for you?
very, very, very sensitive to the fact that she had come from that background, So I would ask her, what things conjure up the trauma, is this working? And I think because we were working on it together, that also made it, I'd like to say, enjoyable or holy, right?
And to be honest, I felt safe with him also sexually speaking, because he had not had sex with any of his girlfriends. So I didn't ever feel like, I was being used or whatever. Only when I found out later on, but he stopped it in marriage, that he had experiences with pornography. And that really affected me. Because for me, that was more similar a thing. That out of context way of enjoying sexual stuff, not according to God's design, that affected me more when I found that out. But we worked through that, and by God's grace, he had stopped that in marriage. So that's why I think that's how couples can also, if you want to experience good sex, that's why the purity is necessary. You keep your mind, your heart pure, even with the things you watch, what you expose yourself to. And then God is what makes the sex amazing according to his design, even in the marriage. So I think that helped a lot, because as women, we need to feel safe, right? We need to feel like we are the most attractive person to our husbands. And when we give ourselves physically, we don't want to feel like we're being compared or we fall short. And God never meant the experience to be like that.
Right.
So I think that matters, that the husbands also really try their best to guard their eyes, to stay.
Where in social media can we find you?
Well, we haven't officially launched a YouTube channel, although we were asked to, but we, as a couple, we have a podcast called Family Unboxed on Spotify. And then that's for family, right? And then that's for parenting. And then Edric has a show called Fundamentals on Plus Network. And I have a show called Teach with Joy on Fundamentals. And then every Monday, we have this show called Mondates on Facebook, on my Facebook page, Teach with Joy, where we also talk about marriage and relationships. And we're going to invite Ardy and Miriam, and they can't say no because we said yes to them. And then we just launched something recently on Thursdays with our older sons called Truth Thursdays, where we talk about, topics that would be relevant to young people today, especially as they navigate how there's so much untruth out there, and how do they really anchor themselves and make wise choices today. So that's very recent, but that's all on my Facebook page, Teach with Joy. And then my IG is Joy T Mendoza, where I just talk about, marriage, parenting, homeschooling. So as God leads you, if you want to check it out, go ahead. But support Ardy and Miriam and their channel.